All right, welcome on back, Cyber Traders, here this Monday, October 3rd. Great to see Jim still sticking with us here. Perhaps not as many of us right now. Hey, the market is pushing up really nicely, so we could be in for even as good of an afternoon as we had from the market open. But great to see Jim, great to see Grant, great to see all of us live inside the Cyber Group room rejoining us. Hola, great to see all of us back on social media, Facebook Live, and YouTube. So, folks, top to it here. We do have a lot to talk about, but it's nice to start the week and the month after what we had in September. I know a couple of us were saying that September normally is a bad month performance-wise for the S&P and for the Dow, and after such a bad month this year, we ended up having a nice start, at least today for this week, and obviously for the month of October. So the SPY ended up having a nice pop shortly after the open. It's been smooth sailing since, at least across the afternoon. So for right now, we'll definitely go through some stocks from our side list, some stocks that could be up, performing upward with the market. But Sober, SOBR, making a pretty strong push once again here this morning. Took a little while to get the real gears going on it. Had the initial drop, then push back up, bit of a slingshot at first, but then out of nowhere, like a rocket, this thing ended up breaking back above its opening print, right over 3, ended up running up beautifully, at the time. So from that point, we've had our eye on it, and since it's been doing pretty nicely, a couple of mediocre bounces for us, and well, as I'm talking, even right now, making a pretty strong push up from 340, just about 15, 17 cents up right now. Let me see on level 4. I'll drag my level 4 over here and we'll kind of see what's on the screen. So for right now, the SOBR trade ended up making a pretty strong push above this big print line we ended up calling out from earlier. About 29,000 shares ended up getting filled just earlier on the bid. This is like right at 1:45 Eastern time. So that was off of 347, led to a huge shake around for a moment, but just a moment ago, a nice pop, nice slingshot right over that price. So let's hope to see the Sober trade make another run up higher into the close, and this could be the beginning of it. There has been a pretty big order on the bid of 37,000 shares on the bid at 330. Hasn't gotten tested yet. The VWAP held pretty nicely, so you really hope to see it make that quicker push upward sooner than later. So Sober, I'll put on our watch list at least to begin, especially now at this like nice last pop back up. All right, now we had Sober, then we had FNGR. Now this one had like 2 or 3 halts to it going up. I don't know if it got halted going down. Rich, you would have to let me know officially on that, but ended up having this big pop right out the gate after the market opened up. Got halted twice, definitely once here, once over here, maybe a third time with that, but ended up making this big squeeze up, shook around like the other one, like the Sober trade, ended up giving us a couple of mediocre bounces across the day. And we're not necessarily expecting this pop here. I mean, this was out of the blue. This was out of nowhere. Broke back over 5, mind you, but to get the reaction after, I wouldn't have expected that. Perhaps off such a big level, you should expect a big move, right? But to see it get halted out the gate off the level break like that, pretty impressive. So, the FNGR right now, I mean, it's making lower highs, pulling back down a little bit here. Not fully sold on it, like at least I am on the SOBR for right now. So this one, FNGR, we'll come back to by the end of this meeting. All right. Now let's go right through from top to bottom, though. Otherwise, great to see Michael, Grant later on, and Jim just joining us right now. We'll go from top to bottom across the gainers list. We'll see if there's anything else that we could add to our list. Keep in mind, put on our side list at that. We'll see what else is out there. Logic here, buyout. We're going to skip over it right away. We talked about that earlier this morning. FNGR. The WLDS had a nice little move to it earlier today too. So from the morning here, from the market open, it was trending down going into the open. So you'd expect more often than not to see that trend continue at some point throughout the morning. To see this push up right away, you should be a little reluctant to see it make the false break and pull back. Well, it ended up pulling back a bit, but really holding strong, a higher low, and then broke back up to break highs here off of like roughly 123, 124 at that. Led to a nice squeeze. So nice little move on the WLDS. Even right now, you could say it's like grinding back up right now to the highs. It's actually a lot closer to the regular session high of the day, at least comparative to the lows. So, you know what? Not fully sold on it just yet, but I'll come back to this definitely at the end. It wouldn't hurt us to add this to our list, but let's see if there's anything even moving a little bit faster, a little bit, more on the way up here, pushing up pretty nicely. All right, and see this one until now. KPRX. What happened here? This one from out the blue. I didn't even see this one at all. I was more focused on the Mara trade, at least, which we'll get to in just a moment. But the KPRX stock ended up making a nice pop, seemingly off of 750, 760-ish. Got halted once and then came back down, shook around a bit. This one not really trading as much liquidity on the order book, so you got to be careful there. And at this point now, kind of just dragging back down, kind of like, volume really waning off. So KPRX, I'll add to our side list also, but I'm not as likely to add this one by the end of it. Have to like do something like the order book fill in drastically for this to pop back up, trend up a lot better. All right, the sober stock on our list already, holding its own right here. It needs to push up a little bit higher, which it's doing. Beautiful, nice pop up to 370-ish, 370. Bit of an order sitting on the ask right now. About 10,000, 11,000 shares I saw just a moment ago. Keep your eye here. And then also 384 right off the high, right under the high, I should say. All right, there we go. Hey, all you need is one. You don't need to, build up too big of a watch list here at this point. But you want to have at least a couple of different things to look at. One or two to at least scan through. IMVT not looking bad at all in terms of a chart. Pushing up above the highs from last week, from Thursday of last week. Wish it had a bit of an order on the ask, but liquidity is better than the other ones. So IMVT we'll put on our list here. Why not? All right, I got a water break in between at some point there. Let's see what else we have here across the gainer side first. CENX, if I'm not mistaken, aluminum stock, ended up making a nice push up today, perhaps benefiting from the market. It's up at the highs, don't get me wrong, but it's like a bit of a slow poke right now. All right, folks, there's definitely a lot that's up percentage-wise. So if there's anything else that you see that's up big that I just didn't look at, let me know. I got Ron's Alcoa up big here today, too. It's just kind of staggering along right now, but up big percentage-wise, mainly from the market open. Had a little pop taking us into the early to mid-afternoon. All right, Grant's Gold CDE pushed up nicely earlier this morning, but not really looking great here. Just kind of holding its own right now. All right, folks, let's hop over to the loser side here, see if there's anything looking good, just as good, if not better. You got the market really pushing up right now. There is one stock I do want to show here actually beforehand, and that's the Mara trade. Mara is really pushing back up pretty nicely, so I wanted to jump to this actually first. Let me get the heat map back up. It's easy to see the 37,000 share order on the COB. That's like their level 3, but of course that paints the heat map. So big orange line at 1150 right there on the Mara trade. About 37,000 shares sitting there. So this has been an incredible trade. This was a trade that I got greedy on earlier today. So I was on this with one of our students, Nina, in a coaching session. We got in really nicely right off the 1070 level VWAP. That was the closing price from last month and from last week, just from Friday. But led to a nice bounce. I got greedy. She did not. She got out right at 1105. I think she wrote to me in private chat. Nice trade from Nina. Well, I ended up only getting a few pennies on this trade at the time, but that's why it's easy for me to say I'm in this trade right now from 1070. I've been in this trade since 1070. It broke over the VWAP pretty nicely, off to a good start after I got back in, and since it got a little dicey right around like 1083-ish for a little bit. That's another big level to watch. That was the opening print just from this morning, from the beginning of this month here in October. But, it ran up off there pretty nicely and smooth sailing. So Mara, I'll definitely put on our main watch list right now, MARA. All right, there we go. Grant says, not hard to do. Well, hey, in terms of the Mara trade itself, it's easy when they go straight up, but it's all about finding your big levels. So with that, let me just jump to my Mara chart here. I'll show you what I was talking about. Here's all my lines. So this was the close from Friday last month in September. It was staggering along there earlier today, so I took a few entries on this where I broke even, or I took a -2. So it wasn't just 2 entries, but I've been hawking this trade mainly, and most of us know that inside the chat board. Just look at the last 20 call outs. FNGR, I called out Sober a couple of times. Ooh, that reminds me. I did call out Peloton earlier today. I'm just checking back in on that trade right now. That came out with news early in pre-market. I wrote that as one of my few in-between call-outs from Mara across the afternoon. But yeah, Peloton had a nice little push here. It's just a little flat right now. So we'll keep it on our side list. I'll write it down for the side list right now. That's it. All right. Actually, I don't know if someone's listening to this meeting right now. It's just trying to help us. But you got a big 60,000 share iceberg order. It literally just popped up within the last maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds at that. I just caught this from the corner of my eye. That's not me. So, I ain't got that much money. But 60,000 shares on the bid at 1075. Let's hope to see this make a really strong push up from here, or otherwise for this to pull their order and then for them to place it higher over time, and for that to be like a bit of a ladder effect for it to run up from there. So that's something to think about. All right. Let me know if there's anything else otherwise for all of us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube. I got KPRX on our side list. I think that's still pushing up briefly. So, it doesn't really look it. Got the signal from Benzinga Pro there, but, pushed up, I guess, the last bar, then snapped back down, still going sideways. FNGR is still hanging in there briefly. It's, tradable. Don't get me wrong. Good spread, good liquidity. It's just so flat right now. So it's up big percentage-wise, but this stock made such a big move the last 3, 4, 5 straight days in a row. When is it going to, pull back completely? This could be the beginning of it. That's my thought. If I'm wrong with that, then we'll see what happens off of the 550 level otherwise. But, I'm not fully jumpy to trade this one just yet. Then finally, I think we had the WLDS. Doesn't hurt us to put this on our list, right? Still kind of grinding up towards the highs there. You don't really have a clear conscious resistance really showing on the order book. About 15,000 shares at 145, 12,000 shares at 48, etc. But 150 would be your big level to watch. So just follow that. Otherwise, we'll do a little historical charting here. 116 already broke above that. That's smooth sailing from there. 234, that's a ways away. So this is kind of in between historical levels, in my opinion. I don't really see a clear high or low, so I was looking at opens and closes just there. So this one has some potential. You want to see an order on the bid potentially pop up here to generate that support like Mara just did. But WLDS, just more of a level 1 stock here. I like it. All right. So, folks, I think that's just going to wrap things up for right now. If you have anything else otherwise, let me know here inside the live trading room. But for all of us on Facebook Live, YouTube, a couple of different things, as always, to clear up the meeting for the day. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, suggestions, feel more than free to send it over through email. josh@ctutrading.com is my email. Always like to post my email there at the end of these streams. But otherwise, if you wanted to join us for this week inside our live trading room, especially for tomorrow's Traders Talk workshop, that's our live Q&A workshop that I was mentioning from the morning meeting earlier today. That'll be tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Eastern time. But if you wanted to join us live for that meeting, just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below the stream right there to get yourself started. But for Robert, for Michael, Grant, Leda, I look forward to chatting with you folks at least coming up here at 3 o'clock and after. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.